Welcome back to the channel. This game features Nigel's last round game in the Esbjerg tournament in Denmark, a game he had to win in order to gain his third and final Grandmaster norm. Also, he was in contention to win the tournament if he actually won the game. So it was quite an important game for Nigel, and he was playing one of the lowest ranked players in the tournament. The game started as a Reti but turned quickly into an English opening. All very symmetrical and quite quiet opening. White strikes in the centre. I think it's at this point we're out of the book, or close to it. White exchanged the bishop for the knight, giving white the two bishops, black the two bishops, beg your pardon. There's a bit of pressure against the d pawn now, but Nigel transferring the rook to the centre via the a7 square. And here Nigel can take the pawn on c4, but obviously he loses the pawn on b6. And castle. And at this point now, I think we're well out of the opening into the middle game. It's quite an interesting position. Nigel has an isolated pawn on the A pawn, which structurally is quite sound. Grabbing the open C file. And here white threatens knight to b6, followed by knight to c4, picking up the d pawn, which Nigel stops. And again, that was threatening f4 with winning the d pawn, so Nigel moves it forward. And white opts to trade the knight for the bishop, and now we're bishop against knight in the endgame. But Nigel does have an active rook on the 7th. Defending the knight. And quite a lot of the heavy artillery has been traded off. And you would say the position is quite equal at this point. It would be quite difficult to win the game from here. Not really threatening the h pawn, as g6 would trap the bishop. And here white offers to trade the rooks, which is accepted. And it really does look a very drawn ending now. Both kings head towards the centre, black going towards the a pawn. A clever way to trade a pawns, but now white does have a passed a pawn. The black will have to guide against, and this is it's an interesting idea, but it looks a bit strange to put the bishop on h7. Obviously, it's heading to g8 to try and undermine the pawn chain via f7, e6, etc. So Nigel gets his pawn back, and bishop to g8. But this is a clever move from Nigel because obviously now bishop takes f7, runs into knight e5 check. And again, another nice move just to protect the f pawn. Now you would say black's doing okay. He's got rid of the a pawn. Still, he's got an extra pawn in the centre, and the bishop looks horrible now. It looks completely trapped. If it ever tries to go to h7, then g6 will trap it. So he's got to try and blast open the king side in order to make sure his bishop doesn't get trapped. And this is his first mistake. It looks a natural move to move the king to the centre. He wants to try and get to him via c5 or e5. But Nigel plays the only move that's the correct move, which is to get the king back across to the king side. So I continue his plan to try and blast open the pawn structure so his bishop doesn't get trapped. But the black king slowly edges towards the king side and trapping the bishop. And this is a bad mistake by white. It's too slow. He needs to ensure that he keeps trying to blast open the centre or the king side. This move just allows black an extra tempo to get the king further forward, further back towards the king side. And all these trades have done is help black simplify the position, and the bishop looks in trouble. Now the king's going to move the knight, and the king's going to go to f8, and g6 will always trap it. So the knight moves, threatening knight to f6 check as well. So white stops that. But a nice check from Nigel to force the king away. If king to c6, then knight to e6, and king to f8 will be coming. And if he plays king to c5, again knight to e6 check. King to d5, g6, and king to f8 and king to g7 will pick up the bishop. So the game was actually resigned in this position here, and Nigel had finally became a grandmaster. He got his third and final GM norm, and with the win and the other two grandmasters below them both drawing against each other, he actually won the tournament as well with 7.5 out of 11. So a fine achievement for Nigel, finally a grandmaster, and can only be getting better from here. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the game, and until next time, bye for now.